In this video, we're going to provide an overview of Xero, what it is and what it does. Don't forget to hit subscribe below for future free content. So this is the main dashboard screen within Xero. Before we get into some of the specifics around what the software can actually do, I think it's probably useful to cover off from a general point of view why you might actually want to use a piece of cloud accounting software. So I think one of the main benefits is really around the sort of the connectivity and flexibility it allows you. So what I mean by that is it's really easy to give multiple access to a range of different users, whether it be different consultants or different employees that are rolling on and off. And that's because you can connect to the software through, or you connect to the software through the web browser. So that's obviously different to sort of older software that's available where it might be on premise. So what I mean by that is hosted on a local server. So having that sort of anytime, anywhere access through the web browser, it really does make life a whole lot easier and cuts down on the admin time and hassle around that. I think the reliability as well is something to consider. So, I mean, I've been using Xero, I think now for around 4 to 5 years, and I can't really remember any sort of significant periods of system outage. So again, if you're wanting to make sure you've got a system that is reliable, so that you can obviously make sure you're paying suppliers on time and wages on time, obviously, all that sort of stuff, it really is useful to consider a system like Xero because it does have a very good track record of reliability. So if we just dive in now to the banking section of the dashboard, I think the banking feature of Xero is probably one of the most useful, if not the most useful features of the software itself. So the reason I say that is it really cuts down the time on making sure all the transactions that have cleared the bank statements do actually end up in the accounting records. So what it does is it sucks across from the bank statements all the transactions into the software, and then it basically says to the user, these need categorizing to come into the accounting records. So if we see here, it says reconcile 29 items. So what that's saying to us is there are 29 items that have cleared the bank statements. We now need to code those into the accounting software itself. Just before we get into that, actually, it's probably worth mentioning as well that you can have more than one bank account in the software. So for example, if you've got a current account and a savings account for your business, you could set both of those up to automatically feed. You can also have bank accounts in foreign currencies as well. So again, if that's appropriate to you, it's really useful. So let's just go and click reconcile 29 items. So what we see here is on the left hand side in the light grey, these are all the transactions that have been sucked across from the bank statements, and they're awaiting allocation into the Xero accounting records itself. So on the right hand side here, this is where we'll actually code those transactions into Xero to come into the accounting records, or we'll match them with predetermined transactions, so typically sales invoices and purchase invoices that are already sitting in the system. So first example here, Ridgeway University invoice 0035. So this relates to a receipt for just over £6,000. So we can see here that Xero has highlighted the transaction green, and what this means is that it's basically identified an invoice, in this case a sales invoice, for the same amount with the same customer name and with the same invoice reference. So Xero is basically saying, look, these two transactions, the transaction that's been received into the bank, it looks like it matches with this sales invoice. Can we match them? So in this case, we click OK because we do want to do that. All the details match. And it's doing the same thing again here, except for a payment from the bank account. So Truxton Property Management, we've paid just over £1,000 to them for rent. So there's a purchase invoice sat there for the same amount to the same supplier. So again, we would click OK to match those. So here we've got Smart Agency. We've made a payment to them for £4,500. This time we don't actually have a purchase invoice sat there for that, so we can raise a bill. So we just come up to the top, click the plus icon, select bill, and we just type in here from, so we just put in the name. We can see that the name's already set up. Due date, just select the same date. So it's just basically like filling out a form. Consultancy in the description, quantity 1, and then to unit price of 1,000. Here we allocate the writer code in the account, so just put it to purchasers. And you can see here it's got the VAT rate, so standard rate here 20%. We could select a different one if it was appropriate. We'll just stick to 20%. You can see it's automatically applied that 20% to the bill. So we just click here approve, and that bill's been approved. So just moving on now to raise a sales invoice from the system, we just go to the plus icon at the top menu here, select invoice. It's probably just worth mentioning at this point that businesses that use cloud accounting are actually a lot more efficient in managing their sales cycle. So obviously collecting cash from customers is a big part of that. I think the reason for their success is probably because of the visibility and ability to manage the sales cycle that the system gives. So obviously seeing invoices that are outstanding becomes a lot easier, but also when invoices are sent out, you can basically link into the body of the email and invoice that goes out third-party payment systems such as Stripe and Go Cardless. And what that allows is for the customer to actually click through on the link within the invoice or the email and actually go and make payment straight away. So again, it just really sort of streams up and creates a connectivity feature that makes things a lot easier. So let's just fill out the invoice. We'll just drop in here the customer name, date of the invoice, due date. We've got the invoice number here, branding as standard. We'll just leave that as is for now. You can actually modify that for your specific business. We won't run through that in this video. Description, we'll just type in project management. Quantity is 1. Price £1,000. So it's being posted to the sales account. You can select other accounts in there if you need to. 20% VAT. Again, you can rotate those different rates if you need to. So we can see here it's been set to tax exclusive. So you've got tax inclusive as well. So we're going to keep it to exclusive. So this is £1,000 net on the invoice. We can see here it's 20% VAT. So the gross value of the invoice is £1,200. So we can hit approve. So that invoice is now raised and it could be actually now sent out. So just returning now back to the main dashboard screen, we'll just run through some of the metrics in here that are available. It is customizable depending on what you want to see, but it's probably just useful to run through this so you can get a bit of an idea. So just here we've got the account watch list. So what this is you can basically set up key accounts within your ledger that you'd like to keep an eye on and have visibility of. So you can see here advertising through to sales, and it's basically telling us what we've spent so far in the month compared to year to date. So obviously for sales, what we've received in the month compared to year to date receipts. So again, customizable. So if there were some accounts you wanted to see more than others, then you'd be able to do that. This is really useful. Invoices owing to the business. So I can't think of many businesses that wouldn't want to actually see that. So what's really great is that you can actually just drill into some of these figures here. So it's saying here at the moment we've got 15 sales invoices that are awaiting payment at just over £16,000. So if we click in here, it just brings up all of those invoices that are owing to us. All this data can be exported to Excel as well. So if you wanted to run some analysis on spreadsheets, you could do that. just go back again, and then it's highlighting here in red the ones that are overdue. So we can just drill in again and see all those invoices that are overdue. So again, can be exported, really useful. Here, bills we need to pay. So on the flip side, purchase invoices, where we need to pay. So again, we've got the option to drill down. It's just telling us by due date when they became due, so we can get an idea of the aging. Expense claims, those expenses which need to be approved. Total cash in and out of the business, so obviously really useful for managing the cash flow over a period of time. What's not on here, which is probably worth mentioning as well, is just the ecosystem that surrounds Xero. So there's a whole load of plugins that are available. So I guess the plugins really exist on a sort of an industry by industry basis. So if there's a specific need for your business, so for example in construction, if you're wanting to get a sort of a connected process around the invoicing and the quote management side, getting visibility around time and materials on site, there is actually a plugin available called Workflow Max, which we'll run through in another video. Managing things like stock as well. While you can actually do that in Xero, there are some sort of limitations around that, but just from a broad point of view, you can manage stock on a line-by-line basis in here, so you can actually see what you've got left in stock after sales. But as I said, if you are wanting to sort of manage that down to goods in transit, landed costs, that kind of thing, you would probably need a third-party plugin for that. The CIS scheme, so again, if you're in construction, you can manage the CIS scheme through Xero. It does take a bit of setting up. We are actually running a video on that at the moment, which we'll make available. So I hope you found that useful. As always, please feel free to reach out to us if you've got any questions. You can hit subscribe below to receive future free content. Thank you for watching.